Sorry. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Scenic Rim Regional Council Ordinary Meeting Wednesday, the 28th of August 2024, which I now declare open. I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians on the land on which we gather today and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. In terms of attendance, we have one apology day today for Councillor Sanders, and I'll now move to prayers and hand it over to Councillor Moriarty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to open the meeting, commence with a prayer, and today's prayer will be the Lord's Prayer. Let's pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councillor. I believe there are no questions on notice for public question time, and there are no declarations of prescribed or declarable conflict of interest. We do have a couple of announcements this morning. Councillors, it's my pleasure this morning to acknowledge the strong showing by Scenic Rim entrants in the 2024 RNA show and the contribution of our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Duncan McInnes OAM, to the success of this event, better known as the ECA. The Scenic Rim's longest serving councillor, Councillor McInnes, also has served as a councillor on the RNA for 12 years, being councillor in charge of dairy cattle and dairy goats, as well as being a member of the Audit and Finance Committee. Resigning in April last year, Councillor McInnes has been acknowledged for his service and appointed an honorary councillor of the RNA. He was part of the council that oversaw tremendous development on site, including a convention centre and a 4-storey car park which doubles as a cattle pavilion. As a third-generation dairy farmer, Councillor McInnes has a long association with the ECA, and I now invite him to share his perspective on this year's event.
First of all, Mayor, thank you very much, and thank you for those words. This year's RNA show was one of the most successful ever for Scenic Rim entrants who exhibited across a wide range of categories. It was particularly pleasing to see the success of our young people, and I mean young as in under 30, not nothing else, but in a number of cases under 20 actually, represent the future regional shows and indeed the ECA. I would like to particularly acknowledge the success of our youth in exhibiting cattle, particularly in Young Judges competition and the Showgirl event in which our Desert Showgirl was runner-up from 11 sub-chamber entrants from across Queensland. The RNA show, or ECA as it is now probably best known, has changed a lot in recent years. However, it still remains its root as an event that connects city with the country and reminds our city cousins of the importance of our agricultural sector. For some, the show will be the first opportunity to come face to face with dairy cattle, poultry, sheep, and meet the producers of our food and fibres. My first experience of the show was a 16-year-old accompanying a fellow who used to show dairy cattle, and I quite enjoyed it in those days and still do. I might add too that this year was the first time the Darling Downs Moreton Rabbit Board had a stand in the education section of the ECA, and it proved very successful in educating show patrons of the effect that rabbits have on our environment. Scenic Rim is one of 8 councils which contribute to the ongoing work of the Rabbit Board. Wet weather certainly impacted the attendance at this year's ECA, forcing the postponement of traditional Grand Parade, but the rain could not dampen the enthusiasm of the ECA competition. My congratulations to everyone who participated this year either as an entrant or organiser, for your contribution in helping to showcase the wealth of talent in the Scenic Rim and our region as a leading agricultural district. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McGuinness, and I believe the rabbit booth was actually well attended by the public. There was a fair amount of interest in gaining some education.
Yes, the thing that stood out to me, I suppose, on the few days I was there, that a number of people who didn't realise you couldn't keep pet rabbits around the place, and they, I don't know how many do, but it doesn't augur well for our agricultural industry if people do that and then they escape, of course.
So the booth serves well. Thank you. Councillors, on a sadder note, today we acknowledge the passing of an outstanding member of our Scenic Rim community, Arthur Devon, OAM. Arthur's devotion to his family and his local community was matched only by his dedicated service to Boonah Shire Council and his commitment to improving local infrastructure. I'd like to now introduce Councillor Marshall Chalk to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my pleasure today to provide this tribute to Arthur Devon, a long-serving member of the Boonah community. So, councillors, today we pause to mark the passing of one of the stalwarts of the Scenic Rim community, Arthur Devon, OAM, who passed away earlier this month, 3 months before what would have been his 90th birthday. Arthur has been remembered as a true gentleman and an exceptional engineer who served as a Shire engineer and later Director of Works and Technical Services for Boonah Shire Council. Scenic Rim's General Manager, Infrastructure Services, Chris Gray, has fond memories of Arthur, who was his first supervisor and mentor when he began his career as an engineer. Arthur's own career began with an engineering scholarship at Queensland University, and on graduation, his appointment as Assistant Engineer at Blackall Shire Council. At just 22 years of age, he was appointed Shire Engineer of Quilpie Shire before taking up roles of Shire Engineer at Inglewood and then Boonah, where he settled with his wife and young family. In Boonah, Arthur worked to fund and establish the Park Street Kindergarten and was heavily involved with the Catholic Church and Boonah and Fassifern Valley Rotary Clubs. He was also involved with the Boonah Volunteer Fire Brigade, State Emergency Service and Boonah Visitor Information Centre. In line with his commitment to education and providing opportunities for young people, Arthur also advocated for the establishment of the Maroon Outdoor Education Centre with the repurposing of the former dam workers' huts. On retirement, Arthur continued to use his skills as an engineer as a volunteer with the Bow Desert Railway project, and in 2003 was awarded an Order of Australia Medal for his commitment to local government engineering, the community and Rotary. Arthur's legacy as an engineer can be seen in key projects such as the upgrade of Boonah Bow Desert Road, the development of local parks, the sealing of gravel roads and streetscape projects at High Street, and the drainage scheme for Arachula, which was recognised internationally for its excellence. Arthur has also left an indelible impression on the people of our community, and we extend our deepest sympathies to his many friends, family members and former colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, I believe there's no deputations by appointment or presentation of petitions. We move on to the confirmation of the minutes for the ordinary meeting 24th of July. Could I have a proposer for the minutes? Councillor Hay.
I move that the minutes be accepted.
Seconded. Councillor Chalk. Any questions arising? I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I don't believe there's any business arising.
Yes, there is.
So, hey,
Sorry, Mayor, I did foreshadow this through the CEO a week ago. I have two matters that relate to previous minutes. The first one, I've just sent it through to Sharon. The first one is that in the ordinary meeting of the 7th of February 2023 at items 10.1 and 10.5, local roads of regional significance, we voted to have a review of the council's register of local roads of regional significance in conjunction with the Scenic Valleys Regional Roads and Transport Group. My question is, has that been undertaken? Have there been any proposed changes to the council's register? And has Hartley Road, as specifically mentioned on Tamborine Mountain, been considered in any review undertaken? And if so, what was the outcome? The second one is from the ordinary meeting of the 4th of April 2023 at item 10.6, disclosure logs under Right to Information Act 2009. We did move a motion that we were going to have a disclosure log publicly available on council's website. My question is, have the three parts of that motion, which was carried unanimously, been implemented? And when might the status of coming soon on council's website be updated to reflect that the disclosure log is in effect?
Thank you, councillor. I should just point out the absence of our CEO, who's currently away, not on leave, away at a local government conference, and sitting in for the CEO, David Keenan, is General Manager Chris Gray. Chris, through you to address that, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll address the first question with regard to the review of Hartley Road and more generally the roads of regional significance. The process it does take some time. The first part of the process was to actually look at the criteria by which a road is considered a local road of regional significance. The technical group, which is made up of representatives from Ipswich City, Lockie Valley and ourselves, which make up the regional road group of Scenic Valleys, have actually undertaken a review of the criteria and also have undertaken a review of the roads within the network. That review was in its final stages with a draft list of roads that will be considered as roads of regional significance to be compiled very shortly or completed very shortly. It's my view that a report will be brought to council on the outcomes of that review, including other roads from those other two local government areas, as well as the criteria by which the review was used. At this point in time, I'm not in a position to actually answer I can say that Hartley Road was considered within that review, but I'm not in a position to actually say whether it has actually made it through to the final draft of the version. It will remain draft until it goes to the Regional Roads and Transport Group meeting, which is scheduled for late October, early November of this calendar year.
Thank you, GM. Hartley Road's of particular significance given that we have a development application which is going to come before council shortly for a proposal on that particular road.
Yes, and further to your question, there are a number of criteria by which a road is considered, and the words around regionally significance is actually part of each of the criteria, as well as a number of more local content type criteria. So a further update will be provided to council once we're at a position of nearing the completion of the review.
Thank you.
And through the chair, the second question I will refer to our Acting General Manager, Customer and Regional Prosperity.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for the question, Councillor Hay. Yes, that disclosure log reference on the website needs to be reviewed. With disclosure logs, when a right to information application is made and released, what happens then is council look at that information, decide whether or not it qualifies to go on the website as a disclosed right to information application. So I've been informed that at this stage there's no application that's come in that's been suitable for publication on the website, and the reason for that is a lot of our applications for RTI are made by individuals about themselves and their interaction with council. So what happens is the actual document contains personal information. We haven't been given the instructions that we go through and redact those once we've already gone through the RTI process. So if the document contains personal information that can't be published, it doesn't go on the disclosure log. So that's the status at the moment, and we will review that and make sure that we accurately describe to the community how that disclosure log works.
Thank you, General Manager. Thank you, Councillor. Moving to item 11.1 and call upon Councillor McInnes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce 11.1, Council of Mayors SEQ Waste Working Group. I take it the report has been read by councillors, and I will move the recommendation initially. One, that council appoint the Mayor, Councillor Tom Sharp, as representative on the Council of Mayors SEQ Waste Working Group for the remainder of the current term of council. And two, council appoint Councillor Marshall Chalk as proxy for the Mayor. And three, council authorise payments of all reasonable costs incurred by the council representatives in relation to that role, and I just lost that. Representatives in relation to attendance at meetings. Mayor, just to speak briefly to that, it's this committee has been set up as part of the Council of Mayors and usually represents the representatives are mayors, not in every case, but the big majority of cases. And Scenic Rim plays an integral part in waste and where it is, and there's some councils running into difficulty in the long term, and it's an asset to us sometimes, but I'm glad that you've put your hand up to be part of that, and I think it's a good idea that you are represented there. So I recommend the resolution to my fellow councillors.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Moriarty, thank you. Did you wish to talk further to motion, Councillor McInnes?
No, I think it's everything I've probably, in introducing it there, I think I've covered it fairly well, and it's good that Councillor Mayors is looking forward and keep this momentum going and look at the opportunities that are around.
Thank you. Anyone looking to talk against the motion? I'll just talk briefly and just reiterate, I guess, in a different manner, the words of Councillor McInnes. It is recognised by the Council of Mayors as a major issue on our horizon, given that South East Queensland is the fastest growing area of population in Australia, and with that comes the ever-increasing waste management, I wouldn't say crisis, but issue that needs to be clearly managed, and we need to do this as a cooperative group across all those councils within the region, particularly when you look at some of the major city councils and their expansion and the problem of land. So it's not, and also not only land management, also recycling issues. So it is a major issue, and it is good for Scenic Rim to be involved in that process, to be able to contribute. Thank you. I'll put, with nothing further, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Move to item 11.2 and call upon Councillor Cryer.
Thank you, Chair. For the Councillor portfolio of tourism and regional events, I would like to introduce report item number 11.2, policy review, accredited information centres annual contributions. I take the report as read and move the motion that 1, Council adopt the amended accredited visitor information centres annual contributions council policy, and 2, Council continue to fund the existing appointed operators of the 5 accredited visitor information centres within the region for this current financial year under a service level agreement as per funds allocated under the 2024 to 2025 operational budget. I'd like to speak briefly to that, if I may. The Scenic Rim region has 5 accredited visitor information centres, known as VICs. They are located in Tamborine Mountain, Boonah, Beaudesert, Canungra and Raftownie. Each VIC is operated by a local community group who passionately run their VIC with the support of council. The council's policy provides guidelines when issuing annual financial contributions to operators of the accredited Scenic Rim VICs to ensure they operate in accordance with their individual service level agreement, which has currently been updated to include that the service level agreement between the Scenic Rim Council, Regional Council and the Visitor Information Centre will be issued for a 5-year period, with annual funding now dependent on Council's adopted operational budget, with the requirement of an annual review removed during this period.
Thank you, councillor. Call on a seconder to the motion. Councillor Hay. Do you wish to talk to your motion, councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. VICs are very much an integral part of a visitor's journey into the region and township, particularly as a first port of call, so continued support from the council over a 5-year period with an agreement no longer requiring an annual review is a welcome update to the policy, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone wish to talk against the motion? I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Move to 11.3 and call upon councillor Hay.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce item 11.3, charges resolution update. And if we can just go down to, there we are. Okay, I'd like to move the motion that council adopt the charges resolution version number 15, attachment 1, to take effect on the commencement date of the 29th of August 2024. And by way of explanation, I would like to say this report seeks council's adoption of the new proposed new version of the charges resolution version number 15. The update is a procedural matter which is required in order to give effect to the producer price index changes reflected in the planning legislation fee unit conversion and other amounts amendment regulation 2022. This ensures that adopted charges remain consistent with the updated prescribed amounts published in Schedule 16 of the Planning Regulation 2017, Planning Regulation on the 1st of July 2024. Council's adoption of the updated charges resolution will ensure that the maximum infrastructure charges permitted under the planning regulation will be applied when levying charges and therefore minimise any funding gap for the delivery of the trunk infrastructure network, which is particularly important.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Moriarty. Thank you. Councillor Hay, you wish to talk to your motion?
No, thank you, and I take the report as read. Thank you.
Anyone wish to talk against the motion? Okay, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Move to item 11.4 and call upon councillor McInnes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce 11.4 MCU 23-131 development permit for material change of use, intensive animal industry, 8 sheds, maximum 360 birds at Morang Lane, Morang, lot 77 of CH 311086 and lot 230 on CH 312495 and lot 1 on CC 3571. Mayor and Council, as this just to introduce this, it's, I take it everyone has, it's quite a long report, and as it should be too, and a lot of detail with this. Council is in receipt of a development application for a development permit for a material change of use for an intensive animal industry, 8 sheds, maximum 360,000 birds over a property located in Morang Lane, as I said. The subject site is located in the rural zone of Scenic Rim Planning Scheme 2020, as amended in 30th of June 2023. The planning scheme, the defined land use intensive animal industry poultry requires impact assessment in the rural zone due to its scale, which triggers an environmentally relevant activity, poultry farming. The application was publicly notified for 15 days in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act 2016, with 48 properly made submissions and 4 not properly made submissions being received. I'd like to move on now to the recommendation, and that being that 1, council receive and note the report titled MCU 23131 development application for material change of use for intensive animal industry, Morang Lane, Morang, and described as lot 77 on CH 311086 and lot 230 on CH 312495 and lot 1 on CC 3571. 2, council approved development application on MCU 23131 and grant a development application for material change of use subject to the conditions contained in Appendix A, Attachment 2. And 3, council note that any subsequent request for a negotiated decision notice and or change of application to the approval MCU 23131 will be processed via delegated authority where the changes would not significantly alter the original decision. I so move, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. And we just note in 2, it's a application for a permit. Also, before we go any further, just a statement from General Manager Chris Gray, sitting in for the CEO.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just informing the council that I do live in the locality of Morang, and as such I have other officers here to answer any technical questions for transparency purposes.
Thank you. Call for a seconder to the motion. Councillor Chalk. Thank you. Or would you like to talk to your motion, Councillor McGuinness, or call upon a General Manager to give us an explanation of the
No,
application?
I'd just like to add a few more words to it, Mayor. These chicken sheds are often a contentious issue, and but they do provide employment in the area. It is, and I think all council have visited the site where it's going to be. It is well away from most houses, and there is a number of others in the area there, and no matter where it is, there is some people that like them and some don't like them, and it's council's job to actually look at this in relation to the planning scheme, and I believe it ticks those boxes, but I'll leave for other discussion from others.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Further to the motion?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to comment on some of the conditions that are proposed to be included in this approval, if it is approved. It's good to see that condition 10 on page 66, which requires the 3 lots to be amalgamated into 1, or alternatively condition 10A, which relates to a possible covenant which does not allow transfer of any of the 3 lots separately, or again condition 11. I think they're particularly relevant conditions which would give some surety to the submitters who are against the chicken farm and have concerns about the possibility that if they're approved, each of these separate lots containing a separate chicken industry could be sold off separately and have impacts on sensitive receivers. So I commend the officers for putting forward those conditions.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? We've had that before, sorry. Anyone wishing to talk further?
If I could, Mayor, I just want to endorse the comments made by Councillor Hay. Also want to acknowledge the concerns of the local residents that we met with when all the councillors went out to Morang, and just express that we certainly appreciate them taking the time to meet with us and share their concerns. Council is bound under the planning scheme, and I do believe that the conditions that have been applied to the development will help minimise the impacts on those local residents, but acknowledge that you know, some residents certainly will be impacted to some degree, and we just want to let those people know that we have taken that into account in this decision.
Thank you, councillor. I guess the question I have through the chair then is, given that initial visit to Morang and the review of the existing chicken farm, what is the comfort for residents going forward in terms of compliance and adherence?
I'll pass to the Acting General Manager of Customer and Regional Prosperity to answer that question.
Thank you, Chair. Like all regulatory matters within council, we have an appropriate area that looks at responding to any complaints from the community, or proactively looking at areas within the region where there may be non-compliance with any of our local laws, including planning, environment and the like. So that development, like all developments, will be subject to ongoing scrutiny by both council and the community, and any complaints that are raised will be dealt with in the normal fashion.
Thank you. No one wishing to speak further? I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Move to 11.5 and call upon Councillor Cryer.
Thank you, Chair. As Councillor for Division 2, I'd like to introduce the report item number MCU 23/180, Development Application for Material Change of Use for Function Facility, Wedding Venue, Short-Term Accommodation, 6 Cabins and Tourist Park Camping Grounds, 390 Verisdale Scrub, School Road, Verisdale Scrub, Lot 2 on RP 81580. I take the report as read. I will move the motion that 1. Council receive and note the report titled MCU 23/180 Development Application for Material Change of Use for Function Facility, Wedding Venue, Short-Term Accommodation, 6 Cabins and Tourist Park Camping Grounds at 390 Verisdale Scrub, School Road, Verisdale Scrub, Lot 2 on RP 81580. 2. Council approve development application MCU 23/180 and grant a development permit for material change of use, subject to the conditions contained in Appendix A, Attachment 2. And 3. Council note that any subsequent request for a negotiated decision notice and or change applications to the approval MCU 23/180 will be processed via delegated authority where the changes would not significantly alter the original decision.
Thank you, councillor. Do we have a seconder to the motion? Councillor McInnes, thank you. Councillor Cryer, you wish to talk to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. As the item title suggests, this development application seeks a development permit for material change of use for an existing function facility currently used as a wedding venue, short-term accommodation being 6 existing cabins, and a tourist park which contains an existing camping ground, all of which have been in apparent full operation since 2017. This development, it seems, has therefore been operating illegally without approval for years, and the development application has been seen to come about in response to the multiple show cause notices issued to the applicant concerning their unlawful activities of a function centre use, tourist park operation including caravans, cabins and camping, a bridge construction on the waterway, an unapproved stable structure being used as a commercial function centre, and a number of unapproved structures on the property. Unapproved plumbing works and certain accommodation activities requiring approval have also been identified. Now, whilst I'm not against development in principle, particularly as it offers a service seemingly sought after by the community, both locally and further afield, and if it had come into council before commencement some 7 years ago, in a councillor role, I would most likely have given it my full support. What I am against, although, and once again, is the blatant disregard for the application and approval process, with the notion that it is okay to continuously operate illegally without any concern for council regulation and without any repercussions.
Thank you, councillor. I call upon the GM to address that statement, if they would.
I'll pass to the Acting General Manager to answer the question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think, this is a situation where there's been identified non-compliance and council have taken action to have that remedied. And there's two ways it's remedied. It's either through the entity becoming approved under the planning scheme or enforcement and compliance action is taken. So we're at the stage today for the particular items in this application for council to consider whether it warrants the approval. And it's probably not the place to go in and prosecute in a public forum any allegations of non-compliance. This matter is purely related to an application that's been lawfully made for council to consider. But the point being, yes, council will always deal with non-compliance in accordance with our enforcement policies.
Thank you. Which I guess in turn, councillor, leaves us a little room, other than say that we hopefully sooner rather than later need to address those issues from a strategic position in terms of policy and compliance. And I note councillor Hay has raised these matters previously in this new term. Is there anyone wishing to talk against the motion?
Thank you,
Councillor
Chair.
Hay.
Yes, I'd like to speak against the motion. I mirror Councillor Cryer's comments, and in my own notes I've also said that this would be the most blatant example of disregard of our planning scheme that I have seen. I find it inexcusable that business operators who are clearly astute business personnel, people, given the size of the operation they're currently conducting, cannot foresee that there would be a need to have building approvals and approvals for the type of activity they're conducting on this property. Developers simply chose, for whatever reason, to ignore the planning approval requirements and to operate without the necessary approvals for anything, including the buildings, plumbing and the activities on the property. I find this really unconscionable behaviour. However, we're not here to prosecute that sort of behaviour, sadly. We do need to foreshadow that there need to be changes where if someone is found to be operating for 7 years without the necessary approvals, we can look at introducing a way to recoup the rates that should have been paid going back to when the business actually commenced operating, in this case 2017. In this particular instance, this property will no doubt have been being rated at a very low rate. I think it's just rural, without any consideration for what actual uses have occurred on the property for the last 7 years. That means council has missed out on a significant amount of rates going forward from 2017 onwards. There have been, as Councillor Cryer indicated, numerous show cause notices, not just one, which we usually see as a precursor to a development application, but in this case I believe there were 5 or more. Those show cause notices are available for viewing at council chambers. It's not part of the right to information process, and you don't need to pay a fee to see those. So for those people who have interest in what was in the show cause notices, I suggest you ask council to make those available to you as is required in the fact sheet that's been provided. As well as the activities that that are being approved or sought for approval today, there are, as Councillor Cry said, numerous other things that are not part of this development application, and I struggle to find why we would be putting this forward when we're not addressing other things that are still outstanding and have been outstanding for quite some time. Those being the fact that the existing dam remains unapproved, and that whilst this has been identified for quite a long period, there's been no attempt to submit an operational works application to rectify that. There are also no approvals for the existing private structures which have flowed off the property and onto council's road reserve. I find it outstanding that we are not pursuing the developer getting approvals for those things before we move forward to approving what's already occurring on the property. This application is to rectify non-compliance. There's no getting around that fact, and had there not been compliance notices issued, I think in 10 years there's a fair chance we would see that this business would be still operating without any approvals, and I really do think that's unconscionable. There are a significant number of issues that are going to flow out of this approval. One of them is compliance with the conditions that are proposed to be imposed. Given that there's been no attempt to legitimise the activity for the past 7 years until the show cause notices were issued, I wonder what level of compliance with the proposed conditions we can expect. Obviously, council doesn't have the resources to monitor compliance with every single condition that's imposed on developments that are approved through council. However, I think this particular application, and if it's approved, it warrants special consideration for compliance monitoring in the future. I cannot see that the developer will be happy with the proposed conditions that are contained on the agenda, particularly when we are looking to limit the total number of guests on site at any time, inclusive of the cabins in the tourist park, to 100 people. If you look
Councillor, could I ask you to expedite if you wouldn't mind?
Yes, I'll hurry it up. Okay. Currently the facility offers 200 sit-down dinners or 250 cocktail party participants. This is not a minor function centre by any stretch of the imagination. If we are proposing to limit to 100 guests on the site at any one time, I can see, and plus all the other limitations we've imposed as to do with trading hours and noise, no fireworks, no helicopters, etc., including only one function at a time and one per day, I can see that this developer is going to seek within the next 30 days to have those conditions modified. I find it, can't find the right word, but it's quite distressing that the councillors can approve a condition package, and then 30 days later, within those 30 days, it goes back to the planning section, who then say, yes, well, we've considered that and we've given a bit of leeway and we've changed it. Those conditions that then get signed off within that 30 days are not what the councillors are approving. I know you disagree, and you'll get your chance in a minute. Yep, thank you, yep. I'm just concerned that wedding venues are known to have bookings months, if not years in advance, and I would assume, I'm guessing here again, if there are such bookings, they will be based on the current capacity numbers, not on what we're proposing. So again, what compliance measures can be taken to ensure that what's approved today, if it is approved, are abided by the developer.
Thank you, Councillor. I appreciate your concerns, but just very quickly through the chair, and there was quite a lot in there, but if we could, and we'll take on board compliance issues and possibly that this council to review those policies and strategies going forward. Understood. But if we could just immediately address the issue through the General Manager in relation to points raised for the operational works in terms of the dam wall on council property, also the approvals relating to existing structures and how this relates to the application. One compliance, sorry, I'll leave it at that for the moment. Thank you.
I will reiterate what the General Manager or Acting General Manager said earlier, that we should be sticking to the actual what is the content of what is in front of us. There are a number of issues that have been raised that are separate to what is being considered in front of council, but given the commentary that's already occurred, I will pass to the Acting General Manager to make further comment.
Yeah, thank you, and through the chair. All that's really appropriate to say is that council is aware of non-compliance on that site, and council has a development compliance section that deals with non-compliance for those types of matters, and council has still, it's an ongoing matter, so it's not really appropriate to provide commentary on what council may or may not do with regards to those non-compliance. And my understanding is that they're not relevant to the decision making for this application, because the alleged non-compliance with these other particular issues on that side are not part of this application that council are looking at today. So, and that's probably all I can really say at this moment, and it's probably a discussion for another day and another forum in relation to how those things are going to be dealt with.
I made those observations for context, given that, yes, we're looking at this in isolation, but there is a bigger picture.
All right, moving forward. Thank you, Councillor. Anyone wishing to talk for the motion? With that, you would wish to talk additionally, Councillor Coyer?
Yes, I'd like to speak additionally, Chair. I'd like to say I am glad that this development application offers the property owner the opportunity to correct the situation to comply with the requirements of council legislation, which is notably applicable to all within the region. I do agree with Councillor Hay that this scenario provides a perfect example of the need for review of the penalty process and the implementation of a policy procedure which allows for repayments of rates, especially for those who are blatantly in arrears due to non-payment from years of certain illegal operation. But with this in mind, and the provision of the avenue for the property owner to now comply with council's requirements and conditions, I believe that this is the only way this motion can be supported, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I put the motion to the floor. Sorry, did someone wish to talk against? Nothing from you, Councillor Chalk? I put the motion to the floor. Those in favour? Against? Certainly. Call for a division. Those in favour were Division 2, 3, 4, Division 2, 3, 5, 6, and the Chair. Against Division 1. Move on to item 11.6. Call upon Councillor McInnes.
Thanks, Mayor. 11.6 boundary realignment, Arachula Community Sports Grounds. This is the grounds, the sports ground that Burner Council established some 20 years ago, I suppose it is almost now, and there's a boundary that needs changing there just to make sure the building is separate. So, I will take it as read the motion here, and the report has been read, and I recommend one that council resolve that the exemption under section 236(1)(b) I of the Local Government Regulation 2012 may apply to the proposed boundary realignment for A, disposal of council freehold land on lot 1 SP 229529 to the State of Queensland acting through the Department of Resources in exchange for and B, in exchange for a similar size area of land to be included from the State Reserve 965 lot 446 on SP 229529 into council freehold land of lot 1 SP 229529. Number 2, council progress negotiations with the State of Queensland Department of Resources for the registration of Survey Plan 232715, including reconfiguration of reserve land of which the council is trustee, and 3, council note the costs associated with the boundary realignment and survey plan registered are to be borne by council. I so move, Chair, and yeah, if there's any questions, and
Thank you. Call upon a seconder to the motion. Councillor Moriarty, do you wish to talk to your motion, Councillor McGuinness?
no, I think it is fairly straightforward there without going into too much detail, but it's one of these tidying up things that have to be done. But yeah, so I haven't got anything to add unless people have got questions for me on it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to talk against the motion? I'll put the motion to the floor. Those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. Call upon Councillor Chalk for item 11.7.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my pleasure today to introduce report 11.7, Let's Get It Sorted Partnership Program. I'll take the report as read, and I'll move the following motion, that council retrospectively endorse a submission to the Let's Get It Sorted Partnership Program administered by the Queensland Government Department of Environment, Science and Innovation to undertake the improving behaviour change intervention in the Scenic Rim Bin Health Check Program project. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconded to that motion. Councillor Cryer, thank you. Councillor Chalk, you wish to talk to your motion?
Look, I might refer it to the officers just to give an explanation about the program first.
So the state government is providing funding in order to support local governments to directly undertake behaviour change initiatives. In the case of the proposal that we have put forward for funding, we're aiming to expand on the Bin Health Check initiative that we have commenced. That initiative we've found has been quite successful in supporting our community to have a better understanding of the materials that are to go in the recycling bin, and we've seen some great outcomes in the areas that we have tagged bins and revisited. So the funding that we have requested will allow us to embed that process within council and expand our ability to undertake that process to include residents outside of dense urban areas.
Thank you.
And just in way of speaking to the motion, I think it's a good initiative. This is a very fast-moving space. There's a lot of incentives being given to do better with our waste, and I think the council's on the front foot, and I congratulate the officers for their work in this area, and I endorse this motion to my fellow councillors.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? I'll put it to the floor then. Those in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. And now call upon Councillor Cryer to introduce point 11.8.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to introduce report item number 11.8, Policy Review Project Waste Collection Council Policy. I take the report as read. I now move the motion that Council adopt the Waste Collection Council policy to replace the former Council policy W103.02 CP, Waste Collection. 2, Council note the approval of the rescission of the Waste Collection Services Guidelines W103.02 GL.01, and 3, Council note the approval of the rescission of the Waste Collection New Service Procedure W103.02 PR.01.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone wish to second that motion? Councillor Moriarty. Councillor Cryer, you wish to talk to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The policy outlines how Council provides safe, efficient and cost-effective waste collection services while supporting positive public health and environmental protection outcomes applicable mainly to the curbside service for the collection of general waste and recycling items presented in mobile garbage bins. This is extremely important in terms of management of processes for disposal, processing, recycling and recovery. Key changes to the policy are the inclusion of relevant information from the associated guideline and procedure and the clarification of service provisions for mixed, domestic and commercial premises at all times, considering equity in service allocation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion or any questions arising? Doesn't look that way. I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now move to item 11.9 and call upon Councillor Moriarty.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce, as the Portfolio Councillor for Sport and Recreation, item 11.9. I move the recommendation as put forward that Council adopt the Draft Sport and Recreation Plan 2024 to 2034, and 2, Council delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to make minor grammatical design and formatting changes to the Sport and Recreation Plan 2024 to 2034 if required after its adoption and prior to publishing on Council's website for public access, noting any such changes will be advised to councillors prior to publishing.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion, Councillor Chalk. You wish to talk to your motion, Councillor Moriarty?
I will, thank you, Chair. Just to say that the ODIM report, the work that's gone into this was commenced in the last term of council. I'd just like to acknowledge the work of my predecessor, Councillor Chalk, in the Portfolio for Sport and Recreation for the work that he's put into that space. Also the council officers who have worked with the OTM group in compiling the report. There has been community consultation on the draft Sport and Recreation Plan that was conducted and concluded on the 6th of May 2024. And I just commend all involved in this program. It's extremely important that Council has a plan for our sport and recreation facilities in our rapidly growing region. It's one of the greatest challenges, probably along with roads, is keeping our infrastructure up to scratch, tip-top shape for our growing communities, and this plan goes a long way to ensuring that we do that.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Anyway, any questions in relation?
I'll speak additionally when it's time, Mr. Mayor.
Certainly.
Yeah, thank you. I'll endorse every comment made by Steve, and then that was he put it really pretty well. It's been a long process to get this up and running, and the congratulations needs to go to all councillors involved and the council organisation who were very supportive of this process. I agree that it's very important to outline a future plan when you want to achieve things, and this certainly does that. I'd probably just highlight that this plan at the moment is a plan for 10 years, but it's subject to change because it's an ever-changing space, and just because it's not listed in there right now, it doesn't mean it can't be. It's meant to live and breathe and evolve with the times, and as councillors, it's important that we ensure that it does that. It already has had great success in generating grant funding for this area, and we've had some great wins with lighting, change room upgrades of the like, and we need to keep that momentum going into the future and access as many grants as possible, as well as council and the community fund this area to make sure that we keep up with the maintenance on all our facilities to provide the best possible facilities for our communities, our children as such. So gives me great pleasure that this has come forward and after all the hard work done. And I certainly endorse the recreational plan and this motion. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to talk against? I'll just make one very quick note, and I pick up on the comments, particularly from Councillor Chalk, that it is subject to change and constant review as we develop this plan, which is very important. And also, I think it's in the motion that there may be some errors in the report that will be picked up and amended under delegation. Notably, in page, I'm sorry, my glasses are broken, but where are we there? 15, page 15 of the report in relation to 6.1.8 on the swimming pools. Those, with the engagement that we had during the budget period, there was an indication from the public community that there was increasing demand, particularly in relation to Tamborine Mountain. I also note in the report it suggests, I think, that there are 7 swimming pools in the region, and that there's actually going to be overcapacity throughout the region for swimming pools. I'm not 100% sure that that report is entirely accurate and reflects that. Look, it's a minor issue and as Councillor Chalk highlighted, we will be ongoing in terms of reviewing and changing where necessary. But just in case the public review this and has a differing view, given the engagement we had during the budget period, I just thought I'd point it out, that's all. Thank you. Otherwise, any further? Then I'll put the motion to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now turn to item 11.11 and call upon Councillor Hay. Sorry, 110, sorry, and call upon Councillor Moriarty.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce item 11.10, the Policy Review Project Complaints Management Framework. I take the report as read, and I'd move the recommendation that Council 1 adopt the Complaints Management Council policy. 2, Council note the adoption of the Administrative Action Complaints Management Corporate Procedure. And 3, Council note the adoption of the Competitive Neutrality Complaints Management Corporate Procedure.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Cryer. Councillor Moriarty, you wish to talk to your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to say that this is a fairly perfunctory item, I guess. It's one of those things that council are required to do to ensure that our systems and processes remain up to date. This project is focused on completing several outstanding audit actions, including the absence of and the update of a complaint management documentation. So this report seeks to address those shortcomings, and the creation of the said documents will satisfy the requirements associated with the outstanding audit actions. And once adopted and the training is conducted, a further 2 audit actions will be completed.
Thank you. Anyone wish to talk against the motion? For the motion? Councillor Moriarty? Thank you. I put it to the floor. Those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. Now turn to item 11.11 and call upon Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce item 11.11, report to Council of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 20th of June 2024. I'll move straight to the motion and then provide some explanation. The motion is that Council note the report to Council on the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 20th of June 2024. The Audit and Risk Committee meets regularly in accordance with the established annual meeting planner. In accordance with the Local Government Regulation 2012, there's a requirement for the Chief Executive Officer to provide a report to Council following each Audit and Risk Committee meeting, and this report provides the report to Council of the most recent meeting on the 20th of June 2024, and I take the report as read.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion. Councillor McInnes. Councillor Hay, you wish to talk to your motion?
No, thank you, Chair. I think it's self-explanatory.
Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? I put it to the floor. Those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.12, call upon Councillor Chalk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My pleasure to introduce item 11.12 today, the Council's monthly financial report for July 2024. I'll take the report as read and I'll move the following motion, that Council note the unaudited financial statements for the period ending 31st of July 2024 for the financial year 2024 to 2025.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Hay. Councillor Chalk, you wish to talk to your motion?
Probably no, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you generally can find a good breakdown of the key points in the executive summary. If you like to read that, but I note that our General Manager Oliver Pring's not here today, so I don't really have any questions further to that in today's report.
Thank you, Councillor Chalk. I do note your comment. The notes set out in the monthly report are relatively self-explanatory. I don't believe that reading through the variations that there is anything out of the normal that hasn't been explained. So I find it quite acceptable. Does anyone wish to talk against the motion? Councillor McInnes.
I won't speak against it, Mayor, but it is just July's figures, and I personally don't play a lot of credence on just 1 month's figures. I like to see numbers of months in there to get the trends going. It's good that we do it, but it's you don't hang your hat on just 1 month's thing. I suppose I would have a question if there's someone to answer it. Just some of our carry forward items that haven't been addressed yet, and just where that will end up. It's probably unfair to ask anyone. I know Oliver's not here, but it's General Manager.
General Manager, happy to answer.
Yes, through the Chair. Thank you for the question. We have certainly compiled the carry forward request. It's currently being compiled by the Finance section. That will then be reviewed by the Executive and will be presented to Council at a future Council meeting. The timing of which, if our General Manager was here, would actually be close to or be able to answer. I would has to say that they would be aiming for next month, but that certainly may change. But at this point in time, the figures have been pulled together by staff and are being reviewed by the financial team.
Thank you. Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to add a couple of comments. Firstly, as Councillor McGuinness noted, this is just 1 month report, and it's also the first month into the new financial year. There have been some delays in finalising the report, and that's taking into account reconciling the end of 2023-2024 financial year records and undertaking all the necessary accruals from July back to the last financial year. the expenditure figures, both operating and capital, are skewed in that carry forwards from the last financial year have not necessarily been finalised as yet. And as the General Manager said, these will be brought back to Council in the near future and or reflected in the budget figures. The first half rates that have been levied and issued saw a 0.51% variance, mainly to do with the forecasted growth in the area. So by that, the amount levied was only down 0.51% on what we'd estimated. So that's a fairly accurate forecast that was put forward. The other big anomaly is in the timing of the financial assistance grants, which should have been received last year, but unfortunately were not received until after the end of the financial year, and they amounted to, I think it was 4.194 million.
Correct. Thank you, Councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? I put it to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I will now move to item 11.13 and call upon Councillor Moriarty.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to introduce item 11.13, the Operational Plan 2023 to 2024 Quarter 4 Progress Report. I'll take the item as read, the report as read, and we'll go straight to the motion. I move the recommendation that 1, Council endorse the Operational Plan 2023-2024 Quarter 4 Progress Report. 2, Council note the Service Delivery 2023 to 2024 Quarter 4 Report and agrees to its publication on Council website together with the Operational Plan 2023-2024 Quarter 4 Progress Report. 3, Council endorse the amendments to the completion date of the outstanding Operational Plan 2023 to 2024 activities as contained in Attachment 2. And 4, Council delegate the Chief Executive Officer the power to make minor grammatical and formatting changes to the Operational Plan 2023 to 2024 Quarter 4 Progress Report and the Service Delivery 2023 to 2024 Quarter 4 Report, if required, after its adoption by Council and prior to publishing the document for public access.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion. Councillor McInnes. Councillor Moriarty, do you wish to talk to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. The Quarter 4 Progress Report just simply outlines where Council are up to with regard to their operational plan throughout the year. Each quarter, Council officers provide Council with a report as to progress. I note that there are 128 activities in the operational plan, and as at the 30th of June 2024, 84 of those were completed. The 4 are on track and 36 require attention and 4 have been postponed or cancelled. Council has been briefed on those projects that are requiring attention, and there are a variety of reasons for those. Why not all the things in the operational plan are able to be completed on time, but we continue to work through those. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone wishing to talk against the motion? Anything further from you, Councillor?
Sorry, Mayor, just to say that Council will continue to work with the Council officers to ensure that they have the support needed to achieve all those outcomes in the operational plan.
Thank you. I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Motion carried. All right, this draws to two confidential matters, I believe. Correct. In accordance with Council standing orders for Council meetings policy and the provisions of Section 254J, subsection 3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council closes the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items as follows. 12.1 Urban Utilities Statement of Strategic Intent, closed under Section 254J, subsection 3G, and 12.2 Consideration for the per purchase of land for future strategic purposes, closed under section 254J3G, as discussions will be held about urban utilities, strategic direction and the purchase of land. Thank you. I will now call the meeting into... sorry, we do. So put that motion, call upon a seconder to the motion. Councillor Hay. Thank you. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. With that, I now move into closed session, and we will look to, not knowing when we'll come out, but we will ask those in the gallery to look for a return on every quarter hour. Thank you. Thank you. Could we please have a motion from the floor to come out of closed? Councillor Hay?
I move a motion that we return to open session.
Seconder? Councillor Chalk. Those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we move to item 12.1 and call upon Councillor Chalk.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm introducing report 12.1, Urban Utilities Statement of Strategic Intent. I'll move the following motion that Council approve Urban Utilities Statement of Strategic Intent, SOSI in brackets, financial year 29, containing in the conventional attachment 1 of this report.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Moriarty, wish to talk to the motion?
No, thanks, Mayor.
Anyone talking against the motion? No. I put it to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Now move to item 12.20 and call upon Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to introduce item 12.2, consideration for the purchase of land for future strategic purposes, which was discussed in closed session under section 254J brackets 3 brackets G. The report's confidential, obviously, and the motion is that 1, Council authorise the commencement of negotiations to acquire the parcel of land as provided for in the report for future strategic purposes. 2, Council delegate power to the Chief Executive Officer to settle negotiations and finalise acquisition as considered necessary. And 3, Council authorise the budget allocation for the purchase from existing council funds, and this be reflected as part of the September 2024 budget review.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconded to the motion. Councillor McInnes. Anyone wish to talk against the motion? I put it to the floor. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. That now draws the ordinary meeting to a close. Thank you all.